What's up, crew? Welcome back to the Dope Stroke podcast. We have, I think we're going to call it an early Masters edition. We're that excited that we've got on this a week ahead of time. Such is the season opener that we all know and love. Myself and McD have spent a little bit of time at this tournament. Of course, we are joined by our good friend, Mr. Chris Ryan, with his teeth and with his beautiful hair, his beautiful golf game. What's up, Bobsy? How are you, my man?
I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. I was just saying to Daryl, I've been to the British Masters, so I can talk about
that. Mate, kick us off with the British Masters. We might as well start on some home soil for yourselves and then move over the pond, as they say.
Well, the British Masters is it's an event on the DP World Tour, and if you think of the Masters, the big Masters, it's nothing like that. But it's a good event on the DP World Tour.
For those of you watching on YouTube, Daryl, that's a nice hat you've chosen this morning.
You clearly got the memo as well, did you?
No, we've had no memos for the Dope Stroke podcast. Lloyd has not got to the memos yet. But look, it is coming up to Masters Week. It is an exciting time of the year. Obviously, we had Minwoo Lee hold that winning putt last night. Fantastic. You guys see that he used aim point on the tap-in, which brilliant. I thought was hilarious. A lot of big fans of him. He's going to be a hot player. 190 ball speed, for those of you out there that aren't sure on that. I'm a fairly normal human, and he would be about 35 miles an hour quicker than me. So that is shifting it for sure. That's just a cool 120 quicker than McD. So that's a big hit from Minwoo. So he's on form. He's looking great. Gary Woodland, second place as well, guys. Fantastic story. I don't know how much you've followed that in the European side of things. But boys, I mean, that's bigger than the game really right there.
Yeah. I think it's awesome about Gary Woodland. I think the sort of trials and tribulations that he's had to go through recently, I think to get to this point where hopefully he goes in next week. He's clearly going in with great form. I hope he can handle the course and have a great week. That's what I'm looking forward to, because I think Gary Woodland is a great ambassador of the game. Very good.
It was a good story, wasn't it? It was actually a good event towards the end. It looked like it was going to be, well, at one point it looked like it could have been a 6-7 shot victory and a bit of an anticlimax, but you know, Scotty Scheffler made, I think, 4 on the bounce to get back within a couple. Then Minwoo dropped one. So it actually got pretty close at the end. I mean, if you were looking at Minwoo as in contention for next week, I don't personally think I'd have him in contention because he got it over the line. But if that was like a marathon, he basically fell 100 yards short and crawled and dragged himself over the line. It wasn't that convincing, but do you know what? He's got it done.
Golf's not easy. I mean, I played all weekend, played like a complete arsehole. Golf's not easy. Tough.
Golf is tough.
Next week is San Antonio. I'm going to be honest here. It was my least favourite event on the PGA Tour. Nothing against San Antonio. Beautiful place. Just, I hated it. We just didn't do anything. Weeks before majors are horrendous when you work on the tour. I think the last time San Antonio was probably the event when I realised I needed to go into Trottie golf full time, lean in, and I just couldn't take doing this much more. And reason being, and nothing against the guy, he's a cracking fella, but all I did for 3 days was give Brian Gay a head cover for a hybrid, and I was like, I can't do this anymore.
This might go too much into the last podcast we had, so I don't want to dive into this too much, but leading up to a major, obviously the players want to get dialed in. Would they do that at the tournament, or would they speak to someone like you, Trottie, and say, can we get a few days at the Kingdom away from all the hustle and bustle of the tour?
So you've come through the West Coast swing if you've worked with the American players, and everyone is dialed. I mean, look, Rory said at Pebble, I'm not changing golf equipment from here to the Masters. He was pretty much decided. Done.
Same golf ball. That'll be scuffed to hell, that will.
What did happen for me pretty much annually when I would go to the Masters, I would do Woosnam a new set of wedges, which I would take on Vokey. So Aaron Dill, great rep from Vokey. And Woozy would get some Vokeys and he'd get some tailor-made wedges. And to be fair, I always took that as a little one-on-one battle because, you know, you wanted to get those things in. That's how you used to treat every club. And Woozy I got on really well with. I got on with DJ Russell, who was usually there with Woozy. Shout out Chris Russell. Hopefully he's listening. He was a mate of mine. And, you know, you'd go and do those wedges every year. Then you'd always be approached by, usually, for me, it was when Mike Weir was getting back into playing because he was obviously getting ready for his Champions Tour run. And the lefties want to sling it right to left. Obviously, they want to hit the cut for them, not the draw. So I would set up a driver for Weir that would be a bit more cutty than what he had. and he hadn't maybe seen a tour truck in a while because he wasn't playing too much. So that required a little bit of manipulation. But the range itself and the way it's set up, I mean, it's just so special. Yes, it's everything. And before we even get talking about the tournament and the golf course, it's everything you expect for sure. Augusta as a place is very interesting. It's a very busy little town. When you go with a company like I've been with and Daryl's been with, you stay in the same house every year. The houses are extremely, like, as you'd imagine, they're big, they're nice. But the town itself is quite sort of finicky, small. There's not a lot of good places to stay. Yeah, it's strange. It's strange, isn't it, though?
It's very strange, yeah. There's either Fresh Prince of Bel-Air mansions and an epic golf course and then dog hole. That's basically, there's no in between.
I'm trying to think there's a huge company there. And I know in Memphis it's FedEx, and I can't think who it is in Augusta, but there's a massive, massive brand, like a FedEx, but it's not FedEx, in Augusta. Maybe Lloyd can Google that. Headquarters of a big brand in Augusta, like global brand. Anyway, so they've got these big affluent mansions that you stay in, and then there's these various house parties leading up to the tournament. But you start early, and we have this access parking next to the truck, which is in the parking lot of like a church area. All the trucks are lined up. They're not in the property. So you go in through security, which is a ball ache because you need these passes to get in. And then I was fortunate. I know Daryl had this as well. He'll tell his story. I'll tell mine. But we had clubhouse passes, which you're lucky to get them. Then we had champions. I had champions locker passes. I think you had them one year, McD, because you've got to drop off the golf balls. You've got to drop off the headwear. You've got to do everything. And obviously, you're not going down Magnolia Drive. You get to see it. You're going in through a bit of a side entrance. Security guard, even though they see you 4 or 5 freaking times every hour, they're like, oh, we've got to check your ID, which is like, all right, mate, here you go, yeah. In you go. Then you walk into, like, the caddy area. But it's old school, but the food just keeps spinning fresh. And it's these Augusta branded sandwiches. They have like the Southern fried chicken stuff. They have all the South hospitality in there. And it just keeps rolling and rolling. And it's fresh. It's fresh. It's fresh. It's amazing. Coffee, obviously, in the morning's great. Then you just keep going. Then all of a sudden, you're almost on the range. And if you look, you'll see the section. It's like underneath a canopy, like a building. There's a bag storage that if you want to go into the bag storage, again, you've got to get ID cleared. If you want to go onto the range, you've got to be invited on. You can't just bowl out like a tour event. All right, mate, how you going? You'll be invited. And it's like all the legends hit balls in their same spots. And they're like, you got Sandy Lyle and Lathable that will go one end. Watson will go one end. And even when Nicholas is warming up for the opening tee shot, and then there's the chipping greens taking shape down there. And they put in this, since I went, they put in this huge media centre at the bottom end. But you just realise, like, you're on very special turf. Lloyd's come back with a couple of suggestions for the company. I don't think it's any of them. I'm going to go with Club Car. I think it's Club Car. That's my guess. But Daryl, that's my experiences of going through and going in there. Just when it hits you, and you come down the side of the clubhouse, you're walking like parallel to Magnolia Lane. And I know the first year I went, I walked towards like the front of the clubhouse, and Mr. Palmer was there, and all the players are coming up shaking his hand, and you're like, this is so weird. There's not a pine needle out of place. There's not a tree that looks like it's just been planted. The grass is immaculate. You know, some years it's warm, other years it's not that warm, but everything looks like it's sprung and spring is there. And you're sort of thinking everything's a bit dormant where I've just come from, or if it's the UK, it's usually shite. You're like, this is weird. Club Car, there you go, 10 out of 10, Trottie, well done, Augusta. Anyway, Daryl, that was my first experiences. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I echo a lot of that. I think some of the weird, I do think it's an amazing place. I think it is a pretty special place, but it is also a slightly weird place with weird, when I say weird, I'm not sure if that's really the right word, but some of the traditions are they're very particular, maybe. That's probably more the phrase. So, you know, you think about the driving range, like you said, you've got to be invited onto the driving range. I actually quite like that. I think that's kind of cool. But then each player is limited to only having 2 people. So you can have your coach and your caddy, but if your club fitter comes round, one of the other 2 has to go. It's not going to be the caddy. So things like that kind of sometimes make it a little bit tricky to do your job. But I remember when I was there, this is when, obviously the anchoring with the putters were coming out. So anyway, we had this situation with Bernhard Langer where he wanted to shorten his putter, but he didn't want to take the grip off. So you basically had to cut through the grip and then cut through the shaft. But none of us really knew if this was going to be allowed from a rules of golf perspective. So we had to really investigate this. Anyway, I had these two putters for a long time.
We're
over
talking
the course
about
of the day.
the hardest player to work with in the history of golf. Fair comment. That's a fair comment.
It
right?
is fair, but he was really good about it, and he was on point. And I know he's particular, and I think it's great that he's particular. It's his game at the end of the day.
Listen, I never said he wasn't a great fella. I never said he wasn't polite. I'm just saying hard to do work for.
Yeah, it is fair because any recommendation would be challenged. Any viewpoint would have to ultimately come from him. And that's the way it is for most players, but it really had to be driven by him in particular so that he got exactly what he wanted. So in that exact example, when we cut the shaft or the putter shorter going through the grip and the shaft, we also had to cut the butt of the grip off and reposition the grip back on. So we had to re-glue the grip back onto its own grip.
Basically the cap, yeah.
Basically the cap. So anyway, because we weren't sure how this might or might not affect the rules of golf, I had these putters for like 5 or 6 hours, by which stage then Langer texts me and he says, look, I'm going to go home for the day. Would you mind just popping these lockers back in, popping the putters back in my locker at the end of the day, and then we'll talk about it tomorrow. I said, yeah, absolutely, no problem at all. So anyway, we eventually figured out what the rules of golf, and it's all legal and it's all above board. Everything's great. So I then start walking back to the locker room.
I'm amazed that that's legal, by the way.
Well, I got approval. I went straight to the rules officials at the time and said, look, I need you to look into this, which they did. And they sorted it out. So now when you go to Augusta and you look at the clubhouse, so you know that view from Magnolia Lane, and then you see the little island, like the roundabout bit, and it's got the flag and everything, and you look at the building, the double-story building. So the champions locker room is on the top floor there on the right-hand side of that little of the shape of that building. So I'm going up the stairs and it's dawning on me, oh yeah, I need to go into the players' locker room. And the players' locker room at the time was really, really small, like really small. And everyone was sharing lockers and it's quite tight in there. And the tables and chairs are all really close together. And it was just a really difficult space to maneuver around at the time. It's changed since then. But that's what it was like when I was there. Anyway, I walk in and I'm the only one in the locker room. And Langer's locker is just on the right-hand side as you walk in the door. So I open the locker room, and what do you think I see?
This is the champions locker.
Exactly.
Section. This isn't the main locker section, because I know where you're at. This is the tiny pokey champions.
Yes, the real small one upstairs, security to get up the stairs, security to get in the door.
Not many people get in there. Let's just make that clear. Like, you need a special pass to get in there. This is
I've got a special pass, so that's why I was in there.
It's phenomenal.
I didn't hustle it in. Well, not this time. I didn't hustle it.
If you think about it, McD, like, there's not many people in the golf industry who get in there. And it didn't dawn on me until after it. And that's what I'm getting at, Bubsy. Like, this is not, even if you've got in and you've eaten in there and we're going to get to it. We're going to get to all the sites that make shape. But getting in there is special. Carry on, McD.
Well, I was just going to say, so as I've opened up his locker to place the putters in, there's a green jacket in the locker. But I am also the only one in the locker room, right? So you can tell what's going through my mind right now. And I've stood there for what for most people would be a very uncomfortable amount of time.
This is going out live, Dar. I ask you to think very carefully about what you say next.
I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. I'm going with it. So anyway, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, oh, God, it looks nice, doesn't it? That jacket looks lovely. You know, maybe a bit big for me, but, you know, I reckon I'd like to see what that actually fits like. Anyway, as I'm about to take it off the coat hanger, right, two members walk into the locker room. And I'm like, oh, bloody hell, I can't put it on now. Can I get kicked off and banned for life? And, you know, all these strict rules they got in place. So I've then thought, well, I'm going to have to do the next best thing here. So in the most exaggerated way possible, I've basically placed the putters into the locker whilst half climbing into the locker with... I've got one arm down the sleeve. I've given the little Masters logo a little rub like that on my chest. Gone, oh, that's lovely, that is. Walked out, pulled my arm back out, saw the guy, said, oh, thanks, lad, see you later, and then walked out the locker room.
You still had the hanger in it. You had it like on.
Yeah, mate, it's a bit big for me. Of course I had the hanger still on there. It was all good.
Brilliant.
Oh, dear. What, as like a fan, what do you expect it to be like when you get to go? Because I think that's a good way to approach the rest of what we're going to talk, because there's many things. What are you expecting when you go?
Oh, what a question that is. I mean, it's the golf tournament I watched first. It's my earliest memory of golf. I sort of took up the game in a bit of a whirlwind, really. I went from sort of not really playing golf to within 2 months, it was kind of my life. And I remember the first golf tournament I really watched was '96 when Faldo won. So it was really kind of my first real experience of golf. And I think ever since then, it's just been, you look, I'm British, but it's the major that I look forward to the most. It's the one that I will watch as much as I can of. But you know, it's like when you go on holiday and you go and you see a view, or you see a castle, you see something on holiday and you think that's amazing. I want to take this moment in, and you take a photo and you look at it on your phone, you're like, that just does not do it justice at all. So whilst I think it will be incredible and amazing, I'm also hopeful that it will surpass all of those expectations, and I feel like it will. And interestingly, I've had a couple of opportunities to go, but sort of more in a work capacity, taking a group on a trip and playing golf, and they haven't really come off. But I think when I do go, I want to go as a punter. I want to go as a patron, a spectator. I want to take it in as that. And that was actually a question I'm going to throw back to you two. You've been multiple times, and people probably look at what you do and think it's incredible. Have you actually had the opportunity to experience any of the week as a punter?
So I don't know how it was for you, Daryl, but back at the time, like my first boss, and my boss for 16 of the 20 I was at TaylorMade, a fella called Chuck Presto, lovely fella. And Chuck, to be fair, and a guy called Robin English, also a lovely fella. These boys are a bit older than me, and I think that they knew I worked hard. My first year going there, I didn't realise it, but I think it was a bit of a congratulations for everything you've done. Thank you for everything you've done. Here is a locker room pass. Robin you're going to put the golf balls in the lockers, which I didn't do at this point in my career. I was like, golf balls in the lockers. And Chuck's like, put the balls in the locker this week. Trust me. I was like, all right. And then Chuck's like, join me for lunch, because he's on a clubhouse pass. And I'm like, all right. And then you get back and the work kicks on, and he's like, go see the golf course. And you're like, okay. And he's like, well, I was like, well, I ain't got a play. He said, just go walk the golf course. Go. He said, you bought a camera, right? Because you're not allowed your phone in and it's a practice day. And I'm like, well, I had like a, the point and shoot thing, not the instant camera. I had like a digital camera is the word I'm looking for, not a big lens, but I had one. He's like, take it. And I was thinking, wow, like, what a solid guy. You know what I mean? Because he's basically said, you're here. Don't panic about the work. The work will get done. Take this moment in for what it is, because chances are, like most of us, you've worked your whole life to have this opportunity. So I went and had lunch in the clubhouse with him, which was amazing. You sat there at the end of the day with the global vice president of TaylorMade Sports Marketing, who basically has set this thing up when it was nothing to take it to the powerhouse that it is. I really like the guy. He's great entertainment. Everyone knows him. He's on first name terms with all the staff in the clubhouse. He's been going there for years. Outside that room, there's this colossal tree that everyone talks about. It's held up, I think, by chains, isn't it now, Daryl? Is that
I
right?
think it is. Yeah, that's right.
Everyone talks about meet you at the tree, meet you at the tree, meet you at the tree. I'm pretty sure me and you were there at one point, Daryl, at the same time, and you weren't working for TaylorMade. We met at the tree. But like you have to send a text. I'll meet you at the tree at noon, because at the end of the day, you ain't got your phone. So you got to get the goddamn tree. But the thing that strikes me, and I think, Bobsy, knowing you, what would get you, I never came in as a patron, but you go in down the top of the range, and I think you walk through like this sort of wooden walkway, trees, forestry land with the range on your left, giant freaking gift sort of area where you can buy stuff. You can't help but go in. And the system, the boys on the truck are like, even Chuck said it, if you're going to go and buy something, go now. Go on Monday. So there's no one there Monday. Tuesday it starts to fill up and you have to queue. So you don't want to forget anything. But like you have to sort of say mentally, don't spend, back then you're not earning a ton of money. Be like, don't go nuts in here, because you buy it, you can't help it. One of them, two of them, three of them. I got a freaking garden gnome from that. Why have I got a gnome? I've got a master's gnome.
Just look in the mirror, mate. You got one in there too.
Exactly. So you sort of like, what the fuck am I buying a gnome for? But I did. I still got it. And, you're sort of buying shit you don't need. Then you never go back in there. Then some Muppet's like, can you get us this? Like, oh. Then you realise, I don't know if you knew this, Daryl, you had this opportunity. You look at your credential and someone's like, oh, you've got an M on it or something. You're like, oh, cool, what's that mean? You can get in the members pro shop.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So then you're like, I'll go in the members pro shop. You've already done freaking $600 in the normal punters pro shop. Now you're in the members pro shop. Oh, members pro shop, perfect. In you go. Are you going to get a Scotty Cameron? What do you mean am I going to get a Scotty Cameron? I work for TaylorMade. It wasn't worth me getting a Scotty. Scotty makes a limited 250 or 2,000, it'll be 200 and whatever year you're there, number of Scotties. You can only get them from the shop. And they don't take the piss out of the price. Like, they're expensive, but as soon as you buy it, it goes through the roof. And I'm looking at this going, is this worth me getting and then basically losing my job for one of these? Of which clearly didn't do. Looking back now, probably should have done it, didn't do it. And I'm not, to be fair, I'm not a big Scotty Cameron fan, to be honest. Never have really used them, but get what they are, jewelry potters, whatever, another podcast, another conversation. But I'm like, didn't get that. But you walk around and there's like the logo's a little different in there. And you're like, this is sick. But, and this is the thing I was going to get to before we get to the obvious stuff about the topography. You walk out the pro shop, the range is on your right, clubhouse is on the left, little bit of an upslope, 30 yards. Right there is tee number 1 and tee number 10. Right there. It's like England. It's flat. There's no stone tee marker. There's nothing sticking up. It's like you hit from here, and if you turn that way, you hit from 10 there. And you're like, hang on a minute, I'm right amongst it here, right amongst it. And then the next thing you do, you see huge mature trees down to your left as you stood looking out on the first tee. And you're like, how vivid are the colours? Like, really vivid. Then all of a sudden you start to get hold of yourself. You're like, okay, I'd love to play here. You start thinking that, like, how good would it be to play in the Masters? Oh, what would it hit down one? Then you actually look at the tee shot like a player, which is, I think, what you do. And you're like, Christ, that leaderboard's big. And then you look again and go, this ain't the easiest first tee shot, this. Like, nobody seems to miss this fairway when you watch it on TV. And you're looking at it and you're like, I don't fancy that tee shot at all. That was what went through my mind. And I'm like, why am I so weak? And I'm just like, I just don't fancy it. So I'd be like, oh, well, that's me done. I'm never going to play in it anyway. Brilliant. Maybe don't ever enter the mid-am in case you absolutely sneak in and win it, because the worst thing in the world would be coming here to actually bang this first tee shot. You'd be the first human to hit it into that leaderboard because it's colossal. Not doing it. That struck me.
To go through that question a little bit as well, Bubs, going there, looking at it through the lens of a punter. So I stayed on an extra day when I was there this 1 year on the Thursday. So anyway, I was there on the Wednesday. That day, I went down to the concessions and I had a pimento cheese sandwich, which, people that are familiar with this tournament know that a pimento cheese sandwich is kind of like the go-to thing that you've got to have when you get there. It's sort of synonymous with the area.
Did you like it?
I thought it was awful. I really didn't like it at all. And it clearly didn't agree with me, right? Because this is how it leads into the next part of this particular story, where that night I was so ill.
First, sorry to get in. My tip on pimento cheese sandwiches. Sorry, mate.
Don't eat them.
No.
Oh.
Eat them, but once you've had one, you've got to have 151. You can't just have one because they are a little weird. You have to hammer them, and then it's okay. Anyway, carry on.
So anyway, I've had one, and it didn't agree with me, right? So that night then, on this Wednesday night of the tournament, I've been ill all night, right? And I've got this day planned for myself the following day at Augusta, and I'm going to walk the course. I'm going to do all these different things at the course. So anyway, I've not slept a wink all night. I'm basically this close to death is how it feels. The following day, I've muscled up, get down to the tournament, and I've hobbled my way in. And there's a grandstand that basically backs onto the 18th tee, overlooks 17, and I can't remember which other tee is there. I think it might be 7 or 8. I can't remember exactly, but it's like a really good viewing spot.
It can't be a grandstand. It's got to be like a TV tower.
No, it's a small grandstand.
Okay.
That's just it's not overlooking 18. The back of it is towards 18, so you're overlooking 17. And then the other tee on the right hand side. So anyway, I've then got myself up to the top of that so I can have a viewing point from all different locations. Thinking, okay, I'll sit here for a bit and I'll be all right. Anyway, my head hit the side of the railing and I fell asleep for about 4 hours. And I was so fucking sunburnt. I tell you, I was just bright red by the time I woke up. And then I woke up feeling slightly better, then managed obviously to walk a lot of the golf course after that. But I remember getting to the airplane that night thinking, I cannot wait to get out of here. I just got to get home. I've got to get on a pillow. I've got to be wherever I am, but just not here. So that was my punter's experience of Augusta that particular year.
I think like I will go at some point. I'm not sure when, haven't planned it yet. But I think what the Masters probably brings that the other golf tournaments don't, and maybe the Open's a little different because it does return to the same venues. But if I went to watch, let's say, a US Open, I'd have a great time. I'd see it, it'd be great, phenomenal. But I think with the Masters, yes, you've got the course, which is spectacular. But because it's the same course, I would be walking around reliving shots of the past. Like, I'd want to go and look at where Faldo hit that 2-iron on 13. And I'd want to go to where Bubba Watson hit that shot on 10. And I'd want to go to where Greg Norman fell to the ground in front of 15. And you're walking around the course reliving moments from the past. And that, for me, is what I really want to go and take in. Like I say, you get that maybe at the Open. There's some epic moments at the various courses. But I think the Masters, it's so special that it's the same course. And that is what separates it from the others in terms of memories and nostalgia and experiences.
And I think you're absolutely right. When you go around, and that's what you do think, you're walking down the holes and you remember these iconic shots. But because now you're seeing it for the first time, you're thinking, oh my God, that was a really difficult shot. Like, how the hell he produced that from that spot. But when you go down 18 and you see Sandy Lyle's shots from the bunker there, the shot from the bunker on the last day, that is an unbelievable golf shot from there at that time, like no question, and you see with the spot where, Rory McIlroy's chip going into 16, you just remember all of these shots and it's just amazing to be
Tiger's
up
chip.
close. Yeah. Tiger's chip, on the par
just
3.
Fact-checking here. Just fact-checking.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Rory McIlroy.
Oh, did I say Rory? Oh, sorry. I meant Tiger. Yeah. Tiger's chip. My bad. You do look at it through that. But now I've had a chance to walk around the par 3 course as well, which is epic, by the way. And I was very, very lucky that I was walking along one of the holes there, and it was Gary Player, Jack Nicklaus, and I think it was Tom Watson. And Jack Nicklaus had a hole in one right in front of me. I thought, wow, that's an amazing thing. So every time I see the highlights now of that day, I always look out for that particular hole. So it's funny how you build these emotional connections because, to your point, it goes back every year to the same location. But the only tournament I probably feel that similar-ish sense of nostalgia is when the Open Championship is at St Andrews. It really comes alive at St Andrews for me. Having been to quite a few of the venues now on the Open Rota, for me, that really stands out. But Augusta is definitely special. And you can't believe the sort of the topography and how hilly the golf course is. And you just a blind shot, not even blind shots, but the blind positions you can see yourself in when you're even close to the green. That's quite unbelievable. But yeah, I just think it's a really, really epic place. And I think it's a very unique place. Some of the rules and some of the regulation stuff I do think is a little bit old school, but I think that plays into the tradition of the venue. So, for me, I wouldn't normally like some of those things, but because it's Augusta, it seems to be, it just seems to fit this location just right, if you know what I mean.
I think just to add to that, 100% right, everything. You go down 10. The first thing you do when you get there, find the 10th, down 10, 11th tee is where I went. And again, maybe it's the demons in my head, but I was like, it was a new tee the year I went. And I looked at it and I was like, Jesus Christ, this is tight. And you got to hit driver. You're freaking miles back there. Yeah. And it's a new tee. It looks immense. And I stayed there and watched Ricky Fowler come through. And he hit a good one. But I'm like, he's had to hit a good one there. You're not messing around here. But of course, on the way there, you do go to Bubba's spot. And there's a crowd there just looking at the ground. Wow, this is where Bubba did this. And then immediately go over to that 12th tee shot. I've got to see that. And you watch a couple of groups come through there, and they've done it with the slope behind there so that the patrons can see. They've just thought of everything. It's phenomenal. The other thing I'd add to the short course, I don't know where it is. I've been there all these times. I've never been to the short course because you cannot see it from the property. I don't know where the hell it is. And I'm like, everyone's like, you're going to go out to the short course? And I'm like, nah. But I don't know where it is.
Well, they keep it closed anyway. It's only open to anybody until that Wednesday, so that during the tournament play, and then they close it pretty soon after. So there's a time that all the fans are allowed to go to the short course, and then there's a time where they have to go. So basically, if you're looking down, say from the 10th tee, for example, it's over the left-hand side. So you just got to go over those trees, and there's a road there, and you go over that side, and it's down the left.
Like a main road or a maintenance road?
No, like part of the site road. So
because there's houses there.
Yeah, well, the bird's nest. Where's the birds? I'm trying to think where the bird's nest is.
Near the clubhouse.
Yeah, it's near the clubhouse, right? So you go to the other side of that, that sort of section, and then you go down a slope, and it's down the slope is where the short course is. But they're quite particular. So I would remember I was leaning up against, I was lying on my back because the slopes are really steep, and I was lying down, elbows in the ground, watching one of the holes where the guy's hitting over the water onto the green. And somebody, sort of a plainclothes security guy, came over and said, "Excuse me, sir, you can't lie down on the grass." So I had to stand up. Those are the kind of really weird fiddly rules that I think are a little bit strange. But then actually, if you do think about it, when you see photos and all of these things from the tournament, the people and the spectators are usually similar height all the time. So when you look at 18, and they've obviously got the chairs that they line up around the ropes, it's always the same height, and then there's people that stand behind it. It fits perfectly. To your point, Trottie, it's like they've thought of everything, even down to how it might be photographed, how it might be painted. These things all make a difference to create that sort of that common look that has become synonymous with Augusta.
Yeah. The other thing I think they do really well, and this was something I saw, I want to say, I don't know, 3 years ago. I'm not sure if it was, and it was through Poulter. But they're very private with what they do. And he'd put something on his Instagram that he'd gone for a practice round. I'm not even sure if it was tournament week. It might have been like the Saturday before, the Sunday before. And he's walked on to fifth tee. And you'll know better than me. I can't recall. Can they carry those bunkers on the left, or are they in range?
No, I think you have to. I think Tiger. I saw something last night. Shane hits 3-iron and Tiger hits 5-iron. Lowry was talking about it on something I read this morning.
No, that's the third. I'm talking about the fifth. Some bunkers on the side of fifth. Anyway, let's say you can carry the bunkers on 5 down the left. So he's gone for a practice round, and he's just walked onto the tee, pegged his ball up, hit driver in the bunker, and he's like, "Oh, strange." Puts another ball down, hits another one in the bunker. He's like, "Strange," and his caddy's like, "Hang on." They've built a new tee 30 yards further back, not told anyone, and he's like, "What the hell?" He's like, "I was carrying that last year," but it's just like, it's so private, isn't it? You wouldn't get them like, in January announcing there's this new tee on the back. They just do things and just let the players kind of like rock up and see. And like Poulter was like, "Why can't I carry this bunker?" It's like, because you're 30 yards further back than you were last year.
But it is quite amazing, though, how they can make these changes, and it's as if there was never a change made in the first place. Just the green stuff, how they managed to do that so well. It's pretty impressive, really. But I think, talking Augusta and leading into the week, I mean, have you guys started to look at who the entries are, who's playing, who you think might be favourites? Like, what are you guys going for here?
I sort of cheated a bit.
Oh, you have? Have you been betting?
No, I typed into Chat GPT.
Who's going to win?
Can you look back at the last 15 years of the Masters, look at some comparisons as to stats, and give me some suggestions? And it actually came up with some good stuff.
Well, let me guess. Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy. Yeah. He's got to be in there.
Spieth, maybe.
Well, yeah, but it basically said 10 of the last 11 winners have been top 7 in greens and reg. Now, I know green and reg is maybe an old statistic that doesn't get used as much now, but it just kind of shows you that, basically you need to be hitting a lot of greens around that place if you're going to contend. So based on that, obviously you've got to be keeping it in play off the tee to hit greens, but then someone who's strong with their irons, I think he's going to be good this week. So Morikawa's been trending pretty well, so he might be up there. And actually, this is what AI threw out. a bit of a wild card because he's not really shown a huge amount of form. But Spieth, again, he's been I think he's been placing a little bit more this year. He obviously knows the place well, had a couple of good finishes, plus, obviously won there. So maybe him, someone like Morikawa, but you can't look past the usual suspects, can you?
Yeah, Rory's, the Schefflers. I mean, it is hard to look beyond, in particular, those two guys. I'm actually quite interested to see how Ludwig Ober gets on, actually. He obviously had a great tournament last year, finished really high up, and I just feel like with the way that he plays, and like you said, really strong iron play, maybe this is the kind of course that really, really is going to suit him for many years to come.
Well, he should have won the Farmers, shouldn't he? He got ill on the last day. So he should have won the Farmers. I think he's won since then, so he should really have 2 victories this year. So
look, those of you that obviously follow me, and I know you boys know I'm a big fan of this, I've actually got a login to the clipped
of course you do.
thing.
Of course you do.
I'm on it. I
Plug,
love this
another
shit.
plug, another clip
I
plug.
don't give a shit. Plug away all you want. This shit fucking works. So you can piss off with your plugin. And if you actually did follow me, which I know you twats don't, then basically you'll see that I have pretty much called. Who came second last week?
Last week?
Yeah, this tournament, Minwoo wins. You got your second.
Scheffler and Woodland, wasn't it?
Yeah, and who did I call? Scheffler. So there you go. I've had another top
Well, that's
5.
not hard, is it? World number one.
World
like
number
Miles.
one. Jeez,
Well done, mate. Well, I'm so glad you managed to get that one.
Big round of applause to Trottie. He's
You're an
got the world
icon
number
to
one.
millions. You're such a hero.
Would you like to go? Have you finished?
Yeah.
Apparently, for the last 10, 15 years, he's been picking Djokovic to win majors. No end to this guy's talents.
Would you like to go through the start of the year? I haven't been out of the goddamn top 5. It's golf, for Christ's sake. There's no one who bets on golf. It's freaking impossible. If you want to go out back and look at the whole year, then I've got you. Anyway, let me tell you, knobheads. So I'm going, Morikawa, you've already said, like that. Shane Lowry, he's 107 approach play. 100 is tour average, 107 is legit. Xander Schauffele, 106 approach play. Russell Henley, 105. There are others kicking around in here, but their names I'm chucking at this. Scheffler, 105, down 4 on his trending. Justin Thomas, he's got to be a shout, 105. McIlroy, 104. And then, like I say, there's other names kicking around here before we start all being a bunch of knobheads. But they're names that I would be throwing at this for sure.
I'd be looking at
Spiethy's 103.
I'd be looking at those players who are in that range for approach play and solid putters. So the ones who kind of tick both categories, those are probably good shouts, aren't they?
So who doubles up as a good putter out of there?
Yeah. So one of those that you called, plus someone who's... Because you're going to get some 40, 50 footers on. You're going to have to hold some 7, 8 footers for pars. It's brutal on the greens, isn't it?
Well, Russell Henley's 109 with the flat stick. No, that's around the green. That's around the green. It's around the green.
Didn't he win?
102 putting.
Did he win recently or was he up there? I'm sure he did.
Yeah, he won the other day.
Yeah, so that's probably a good shout, actually.
Shane Lowry, mate. Shane Lowry, you heard it here first.
He's played well around Augusta before, right?
Yeah, and he's playing like a baller, and he's trending. And if you trend on clip, that's good. Anyway, this brings me, because I'm the one who's on it round here with the stats, it brings me to Dope Stroke season open. Piss off with Scheffler. Dope Stroke season opener, which is Splash Sports. Daryl, tell the people about Splash Sports, what we've got going on. And then, by the way, if people do get on this podcast, I want to hear if you follow my predictions, which I will add again, not outside the top 5 all season, or if you want to go with these Muppets who are just going finger in the air. Oh, yeah, Pete Bernard Langer and Fred Couples, they'd be great this year as your outsider.
Just for the record, Trottie's picked Scheffler to win and Ian Woosnam to miss the cut.
I don't think Woosy's playing, bless him. Hasn't he called it time?
It's Langer's last one I saw.
Yeah, frick, man.
God, end of an era there, isn't it?
We're getting old. Well, I mean, he'll still go, Daryl, so you can still throw on the jacket with the hanger in the back.
Perfect.
Now listen, McGee, you're going to talk about the Dope Stroke season opener and what it is, or do you want me just to do the honours?
Oh, mate, we all know how much you love to speak, right? So I tell you what, why don't you do the talking, because that's what you're known for. Yeah, and don't say Scheffler.
I have been quiet on this podcast and let you out
have you
for
really?
a moment of flipping
I reckon
glory.
we should do one of the, like on your phone every week, it tells you like what your usage of the phone is per hour, like how many hours per day. We should do that on the Dope Stroke podcast. What percentage of each podcast show is dedicated to Trottie's voice?
Could
That's
you
what we should
imagine
do.
if we didn't do it at
Yeah,
7
could you
a.m.
imagine? Well,
on
could you imagine there'd be
California
other
time?
viewpoints?
We should basically
God
release.
forbid.
We should release 2 podcasts. We should do like the podcast that we release, which is like an hour, and then just Trottie's bits, which is like 55 minutes.
Yeah.
I really do think that you two are coming into your own on this podcast. It's a podcast you're meant to piss and talk. This is the first episode you've actually spoken in. Well done, lads. It's not the Trottie
the
Golf
first gap
Show
we
this week.
found.
Right. So, through my connections, neither of these two Muppets, we've become in touch with a company called Splash Sports. Now, look, we've had opportunity to do things like this before. We've looked at doing them with Trottie Golf. We've looked at doing them through Chrissy Ryan. We've looked at doing them through Rocket Yard. And we've come up with Dope Stroke Seasoner Opener. It's $25 to enter. But here's the kicker. Guaranteed 25 grand prize pot. That is legit. We could have thrown this at the front. We're going to be promoting it. Well, I am for sure over this next week. There is a limit on entries, so don't be fannying about. If you want to get in on this, we're talking like just over 1,000 entries. So your chances of taking the prize pot are pretty freaking decent. Now, I'm going to read you the rules on this as they've written it. So select 8 golfers, and your top 7 will count towards your score. Each golfer accumulates fantasy points for their performance on each hole. Golfers will be awarded a penalty for each round missed. So if you withdraw or you miss the cut, you get a penalty. Consider golfers' injury status when selecting your lineup, as your lineup will lock when the tournament starts. Lowest score at the end of the contest wins. See the rules for that whole section about the prizes. I'm not going to get into that, but it's 8 tiers to fill, and it's 1 golfer from each of the 8 tiers. So basically, Splash is going to give you the field. It's going to put them all into different tiers. So if you did want to pick Bernard Langer, he's obviously going to be in a different tier to what Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy will be in. I haven't picked my lineup yet. We will probably discuss that next week in the podcast, I believe, lads. Is that what we're going to be doing as we promote a little more towards our Dope Stroke season opener?
Yeah, I think we should do it. Yeah, go on, Chris. Yeah.
I was going to say, this is serious. We need to do some proper research.
Yeah.
We need to do some look at stats, because it isn't, when you're picking players to win and do well, it isn't just a lottery. You look at past performances, you look at how their game's trending, you look at lots of different things,
and then you flip now, doesn't he?
You make your
choice.
choice.
You can't backtrack on me, Bubsy.
Well, no, I'm not. I just think there's a lot to it. Yeah.
Well, if you're Trottie, you'll just look at number 1 in the world rankings and just say him.
Yeah,
that's his standard.
You've got 8 picks. Why wouldn't you have
All
number
right.
1 in the world? I mean,
Well, it's
don't
just
like
the
winning.
irony. Eh?
You don't like money. You don't like winning.
Everyone likes money, don't they? Everyone likes winning.
You think so?
Scheffler. Let's go Scheffler.
Well, why wouldn't you go Scheffler? You got to pick Scheffler or you got to pick Rory. They're going
Well,
to be in the same tier.
What you're saying is you pick from a tier. So the top tier is basically going to be
legends,
Rory, Scotty. But as you go down to like tier 7, it's going to be some of the old past winners who are probably going to miss the cut. So you just have to, you have to pick one from that tier.
Yeah, but you don't know they're going to, there'll be some other lads in that bottom too. It's going to be, if Couples is playing, he's going to be down there. Langer's going to be down there. Alathabal, if he plays, is going to be down there. But you're also going to have some of the randoms that have just qualified in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You might not know. So they'll
some
be
of the amateurs do well, don't they?
Exactly. So you see, now you're already starting to think about it. But if you don't put your $25 in, Bobsy, I'm not letting you in. It is what it is.
What's that in English money? Is this about? Where's this available? Everywhere.
Yeah, I believe. Daryl?
This is... I love the way none of us know. As far as I'm aware, it's a US-only competition. But we will get some clarification on that just to be sure.
We've got a lot of American followers, so my boys are all in.
Yeah. I think we're good on America.
And just we're picking as well. Even though we're not entering, are we? We're not going to be able to win, but we're going to pick as well.
What do you mean? I'm entering.
Well, that's not good luck, is it? If you win...
Mate,
you win your own product. Nice.
I'm entering.
Well, you are one to drink your own Kool-Aid, so it kind of makes sense.
I don't care. I'm entering, and if people want to beat me, come and beat me. And if I make some money, I'm making some money. I'm in it. I've got the same chance as everyone else. I will tell people my team if you want.
Well, I think we should tell everyone that our teams next Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we will do. So next Tuesday, we'll tell everyone our teams. We'll publish it out on the Dope Stroke Podcast Show on the app, on the Instagram handle, and I'll do the same across. We should all do the same across our personal platforms as well.
And we should probably
So
check
everyone
with
knows.
Dope Stroke that we're okay. With Splash Sports that we're okay. No, actually, I'm okay to enter. Splash Sports can speak to my HR department.
That fictitious person in the sky.
We got the dog barking as well there, just to end the podcast. Did you hear it? Big old Denny, he's in the room.
I need to finish with something. You'll see where I'm going with this in a moment. But last week I was in Portugal. I flew out on Monday. Spent a couple of days at Monterey. Have you two been there?
Yeah, nice place.
So, yeah.
Amazing.
Incredible.
One of the boys was there, wasn't he?
Griffo was there. Darren Griffiths.
Louis' mate.
Still there.
Is he?
Yeah. So I went there, and so you'll see where I'm coming to in a moment. But I mean, amazing place, but they literally could not do enough for me. They were brilliant. Like, it's one thing to go and get access to the course to do my filming, but they were so good. So I'm going to give a shout out to Neil Turley, Darren Griffiths, and then Alvaro. And the reason I'm shouting them out, get to Monterey because it is the number one course in Portugal. But Neil, avid listener of the podcast.
Yes, please. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Make sure he tells his friends as well.
Yeah. He drives his one of his boys to volleyball on a Tuesday, sticks it on the radio, the podcast or whatever, listens to it. So Neil, thank you very much for last week.
Is Neil English?
He is, yeah. Midlands guy.
Oh, Midlands, one of yours.
PJ Pro, proper player. Played the Midland region, knows you, Trottie.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. So
straight away, he's my sort of our generation as well.
Yes, well, yeah.
Does he know Tim Stevens?
You knew the one, didn't you?
I think he put him up to it.
Yeah. Well, listen, Neil, we love you, mate, and I hope you're having a good journey to school with your little ones. You're a top man. Say hello to Darren and all that, and we'll have to get these boys on the pod. Sounds like Bubsy had a nice time. Maybe we'll come down for a spit and a swear at your place. Play a bit of golf in between.
Dope Stroke on location, yeah.
Exactly. Fantastic, lovely episode, chaps. Well done.
Perfect. Well, I think that's a roundup for another week, right, boys?
Yeah, that's good.
All right, well, let's go then. Well, thanks so much, guys, for coming on to the podcast show to listen to us today. If you do want us to talk about any given topics, please let us know. Just hello@dopestroke.com. Other than that, you can check us out on Instagram and obviously on all of the latest places, Apple and Spotify. Really forgot the name of the last one there.
Look, I am going to be banging out a ton of stuff about this Splash Sports thing, but get it in that description as well. So if you want in that, it will be in the description. We'll make sure that's below. Hopefully you're enjoying these episodes. I think we're having a good time. We're finding the flow. I mean, I'm letting the lads speak a little bit.
No, you're not.
See you next week, boys.
Ta-da, boys.